Yes, now is Fordham Law School professor Cheryl Bader joining us. Thank you. She served as an assistant United States attorney. And can you tell us what to expect from today's historic court proceedings?
Yeah, so I don't think we're going to see too much drama today. I think more of the drama is probably going to, come after the fact when Trump is on the campaign trail. But, this is these are significant charges. They really go to the heart of our democracy and the sacred right to vote and to have that vote counted. And so I think that, the prosecutor certainly is taking this case very seriously.
Can you help us understand the severity of the charges former President Trump now faces?
So in a nutshell, this is about Trump actually interfering with the peaceful transfer of power through, lies, concocting a whole scheme, pressuring the vice president, pressuring other government officials throughout various states, and really trying to stop the vote count. So these are significant charges that really go to, whether this person should be able to serve as president in the future.
And there are 6 unnamed co-conspirators in the indictment. As a former federal prosecutor, why do you think these individuals are included but not named in the indictment?
So it's pretty typical to not name an unindicted co-conspirator, and the prosecutor doesn't have to indict other individuals within this that are co-conspirators. So this may be a decision by special counsel to try to move the case forward more speedily and quickly, to try to streamline things, because I think he's going to want to try this case as quickly as possible. But prosecutors love conspiracy charges. It gives them the ability to expand the evidence. So, for instance, they can get in statements of co-defendants that they might, co-conspirators that they might not otherwise be able to get into evidence. And for instance, in this case, Trump is not being charged with inciting insurrection, but you see that there'll be evidence concerning the riots on January 6th, because it's all part and parcel of the broader conspiracy charge.
What do you think this tells us about the prosecutor's case?
So, as I said, I think it shows that he wants to move quickly and possibly even try this case before the classified documents case. It may be that he's making a strategic decision that even though the classified documents case in some ways has a more streamlined narrative, that because there's complications in terms of, showing certain evidence to the jury because it involves, classified secret information, that going forward with this case is preferred, and having additional defendants, 6 other lawyers with, making different motions and having different schedules to contend with, that he'd rather streamline this case. But I think we'll see indictments coming down the pike, because there certainly seems to be criminal liability here for several of the unnamed co-conspirators.
And Professor, what about Donald Trump's defense strategy? Could his actions be protected as protected free speech under the First Amendment, some are saying?
So I wouldn't be surprised if we see the defense mount some First Amendment challenges. But so the First Amendment is very protective of speech, particularly political speech gets the most protection. But here I think the special counsel want to show that this isn't just about the lies and the speech, but the action that Trump took, and that the lies were really just sort of fueling that action again, trying to stop the count, pressuring individuals, pressuring the vice president, putting him and others in harm's way. And so I think that's going to be the focus, and I don't think we'll end up seeing this case thrown out on First Amendment grounds. And I think that's probably also why Smith took a more cautious approach to charging any incitement of insurrection, because I think there would have been a little bit more of a messier First Amendment argument that might have gone up to the Supreme Court.
Now, there's also speculation that Mr. Trump will blame his lawyers for giving him bad advice when advising him on the ways he could stay in power after losing the 2020 election to President Biden. Could that be valid?
I think they will try to mount that defense, arguing that Trump is not an expert in election law. He needed to rely on others and attorneys to give him advice. But, I think that's also fraught because, first of all, it's one thing to get information and advice from an attorney about the law, and it's another thing to concoct a whole scheme and create lies, et cetera, that fuel this. In other words, that Smith will need to show that the actions that he took were his actions. And I think jurors also don't always love an argument where you're not accepting personal responsibility and you're blaming a lawyer for giving you advice. So I don't think that will necessarily work for him. Also, interestingly, we've seen that it's the lawyers that Trump has tried to, sort of bring into his scheme that have often been the ones to provide the most damning evidence against him.
And the federal indictment focuses in part on Donald Trump's efforts to overturn his election loss in Georgia, where another grand jury is considering a separate case against him. Could this indictment impact that separate inquiry?
So there's a lot in common between the two, assuming, an indictment does come down in Georgia. We see in this, and this is a very meticulous, very well drafted, comprehensive indictment. And I actually recommend that, that everybody read the indictment itself. It is long, it's 45 pages, but it reads fairly simply. And so I think, you see several pages devoted to, the incident in Georgia, and it is quite compelling. But, Georgia herself, she has the right to prosecute crimes that occurred in her jurisdiction. And so I think we'll see that state move forward, as well to, try to vindicate and seek justice, there as well.
Fordham Law School professor Cheryl Bader, thank you so much for being with us this morning.
It was good to be here.